name that is most known that's partially declassified, Project MK Ultra, or they're using other names. They're basically doing the same activities and in fact using a lot of the same people, and multi-generationally, so handed down. There's a lot of people whose fathers were involved, were Nazi war criminal scientists and so forth. So let's see. And then she said, do you feel that your knowledge on Jonestown has a link with your targeting? Well, I'm not sure that I would say it has to do with my knowledge on it so much, because I feel like there's people that probably know a lot more about it than me. There was some Senate congressional inquiries into Jonestown. I'm still reading through papers on that, and into the murder, the assassination of U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan, that was murdered on the airstrip when he'd gone to check on the people there. A lot of them had been lured from the States, and he'd been contacted by people who were concerned, constituents who were concerned about their loved ones that had been lured over to Guyana there in Jonestown compound. And so he went to talk with people, and with U.S. journalists, and with the now current Congresswoman Jackie Spear of California. And before they could leave, basically people, mind controlled, I'm sure, brainwashed and programmed that would just kill because they're told to. People from Jonestown went there, and I wonder, it should be checked if they had some other help besides just the people who had been living on the compound, if they had some additional black budget human resources help. And they went and they hunted, they tracked them to the airstrip. They weren't really planning to let them come back and report anything that they'd heard or seen, and they meant to kill them all, apparently. They shot Congresswoman Jackie Spear several times, left her for dead, but she fortunately survived. And so I don't think it has to do with my knowledge at this stage, but it has to do with connections, because as far as people who have been involved and they continue to be doing things, and I was born into the wrong situation or grabbed into the wrong situation, because I don't have memories, with the exception of two brief events, less than an hour each, from before I was 6 years old. And I've become increasingly wondering if the people that I've always been told are my biological parents really are, and they're both from Guyana. And the person believed to be my mother is one of those doctors, government contracted behavior modification doctors that went to Universidad Autónoma de Guadalajara. And I'll just refer to her as Dr. L for the broadcast. And so she, her grandfather would be my great-grandfather. Her father's father was the Minister of Health and Housing for Guyana when arrangements for Jonestown were being made. And his only daughter, my beautiful, and I mean it she was a beautiful woman, everybody says, so that even if they did not know her, but she was a beautiful, spirited woman. She was so kind to me, the kindest relative, really, in my whole family. And this is a reason I've always been upset, and it might be a reason I'm still alive, actually, because I was always very suspicious, concerned, and upset about what happened to her, even though I was very young. I believe that she was targeted through this programming, and that led to her not natural death. I've been told alternately that she jumped and that she fell from her apartment window into the concrete below is how she died. And I really have always felt that either way, she was effectively murdered. And it is apparently, it's they literally have some handbook I've been told of about how to get away with, murdering somebody and not have the suspicion and everything and the consequences on them, the people who did it. And one of their top ways, if not number one, would be if, the person could have, fall to their death. And that's something that's happened to Dr. Frank Olson. He was someone who was working on the mind control projects, and he was working with chemicals that were used to help them in their quest to get control of people's minds. And he started having qualms, apparently, according to at least two of his sons. He started having qualms about that he really didn't want to be doing that. And the next thing, he was covertly, he did not know it had been being done. He was covertly dosed with LSD, and then some days after that, he ended up falling or plunging or jumping to his death from a New York City hotel room, which I also think is strange because, I mean, it was years ago, but usually they set it up so that it's not so easy for people to deliberately or accidentally, end up plummeting to their death from a hotel window. And so I'm not happy about the situation. And there is that was shortly following a whole town being dosed and having bad effects with it seems with LSD, but there's still actually it seems to me propaganda people that are putting questions into like it could have been some kind of strange bad luck from bread that they all ate in the town, but apparently it seems they were actually all dosed with LSD, and they had some terrible effects, and some people did die as a result, including like just bad hallucinations and so forth that caused them to do things that ended up causing their death more indirectly, but it still led to their death as a result. And he wanted to resign, and instead next thing he was dead. And I've also read that there were some people that were in his, that had come to the hotel room, affiliated with CIA. So, that upsets me also because, like I think their whereabouts and where they were, and if they were right there with him when he, quote, fell or jumped or whatever, all of that needs to be checked too, and it never really was properly from what I can tell.
Wow. So you were going to share a little bit about your own personal experiences as well.
Yes, well, I have this week, and I'm hoping this might be the installment. I do have more files, and I'm happy to come for part 4 next week. But I'm hoping that this might be the installment where, like, following this installment during the business week next week, I might be able to get some more help because the focus, I wasn't trying to come to it so much topically as I was going chronologically, and then these files popped up as the next ones to go over. They all basically point to the corruption factor. Mm-hmm. And the people pretending to be on official business when they're not. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see. Let me get this pulled back up here. Show up in the forum or so. Just tell me. No, and that's fine.
What? You're cutting out a little bit.
This one is from. This one, the file in my playlist on YouTube.com. The channel is Chinyere.com. CHIN as in Nancy, YEREDOTCOM. And so it's a playlist says to the attention of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. And so these ones have my most clear evidence in those, because sometimes they would do things like they would have some strange sound frequencies going, and my dogs would seem to be affected in addition to me being affected, but I felt like that might not be as great evidence because people could say my dogs are reacting to me and, whatever. So, but I have like a file where they were doing the sound frequencies and animals that were on the other side of a glass where I don't have access to in downtown Toronto. They were ducks in a pond, and they were definitely reacting to these neurologically disruptive sound frequencies. And I recorded that. I put that in this playlist and so forth. So let's see. This file is Diary of a Freedom Rider, Entry 8, Protect America from MKUltra, used for covert human trafficking. And this was published the same day I got the recordings. Let's see. I believe it's the same day that this happened. Let me double check that. Yeah, January 24th, 2008. And so actually, there was even more people involved. What happened, I got the whole recording of these men that were there trying to trick me into opening the door, pretending to be from FedEx. I got confirmation just pretense. I got the confirmation by calling 1-800-GO-FedEx. So what happened is just before that, I'd already been, made hypervigilant, and before, leading up to that, so I was like a human recorder at that time. And somebody actually had been complaining in a neighboring apartment. There was a young couple, and the man was apparently a gang member, and he actually. Generally, he seemed like a nice young man, so I don't know how he ended up stuck in the gang, but it might have had to do with, opportunities or pressures or so. It was in the Bronx. And Anyway, and because I heard him complaining, like, she's not bothering anybody. Why do we have to keep doing this? And so, but apparently they kept having to, do this stuff. So that was also enlightening. But anyway, and then they had a young child, like she was like a toddler, if that. And the mother of the child, I heard her complaining, like, like everybody else gets to be in on it. Why isn't she in on it? But it was mostly young men in on it, and I think so it had to do partly with her being female. And so the next thing, I guess they were trying to appease her or something. And I heard somebody tried to just open the door to the apartment, which I always kept it locked, And so she tried to open the door, and the next thing I heard her say, "Oh no, the door's locked." So apparently if the door had been unlocked, then, they're trying to leave as little evidence as possible if they're going to grab you or assault you or whatever, or both. So they, that would have been, they would have been a more straight line to the rest of what they had planned, but the door was locked. And then I saw a man who always seemed to be hovering. He was always wearing, like, camouflage print. Does not look like official military issue. In fact, I would say for sure not official military, but I think not coincidentally, this like camouflage print and walking around like he felt really cool, like he was given some kind of like military assignment. A lot of them do. They seem to think they're like James Bond or something. And so, and I'm understanding why, because they're being told initially, "Oh, here you can go and do this assignment for us. Harass that woman over there, blow this drug in your face, whatever." And,
I've noticed that online
that
with some of the Q people.
Yes, both online and offline. They just feel so cool because they're so gullible. Anyway, so this guy, he was walking around, he was wearing this military jacket like he always was, but on this occasion, he's walking around with a drill and he's approaching, coming closer to my apartment as well. So I'm like, okay, so I wasn't thrilled about that, so I photographed that. I was running low on storage space because too many things were going on. I was recording and uploading, and I was keeping a backup until I could put it somewhere else. And so, but I got like several photos, and I got the entire audio by the time the men started me, their FedEx. So I'm going to play from 253 is where this, I'm going to.
Okay, you're getting some interference. I'm trying to be quiet so that
the thing to the port. Yeah, I hope that we'll try that way. Let's see. I'm sorry, we're not expecting a FedEx. We're also writing that way the FedEx uniform. Okay, well, looks like it might be. No, so I can't find for anyone else. Were you able to hear that?
Vaguely. Can you go ahead and interpret?
So I think
I couldn't say the word. Interpret. Thank you.
You say like interpret that.
Interpret the recording in case the audience didn't catch what they were saying.
You know what? I think I'm still not convinced that I actually really know where the sound comes from. So I'm going to maybe try. Let me try one more time. Switch there. Okay. I'm sorry, we're not expecting a FedEx. Were you able to say he has package from my
It's really difficult. It's really difficult for me. I can't imagine that the audience can hear it much better. But you have these available online on your YouTube channel, correct?
Okay. So I apologize for that. I'll just it's the one called Diary of a Freedom Rider, Entry 8. And let's see. And so basically, I ended up calling right after.
Uh-oh, we're losing you. Sahar? Sahar, can you hear me? Okay. We're reconnecting.
There was nobody scheduled to come. Uh-oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, she confirmed that there was nothing legitimately scheduled to be picked up from or delivered to that whole building, actually, as of yet for the day. So they definitely were lying. And I got their photographs with them. They had FedEx, was printed across the back of the jackets they were wearing. It was a pair of men, which was also suspicious. And, instead of just like one. And, their jackets were blue with white. They did not have any orange or purple, and I've been meaning to check, but I think that even including then 2008, FedEx had some, additional colors, the orange and or the purple, not just blue and white. And so, and they looked like gang members. And